major part of your truck's ride quality, and if you need a solution to worn struts, but also want a little bit of lift in the meantime, this rough country suspension 2-inch strut leveling kit is a solid choice for your 2019 and newer Silverado 1500, excluding the Trail Boss and ZR2 models. Now, this is a straightforward leveling kit and one that offers a full replacement to the front struts that are pre-assembled, preloaded, and bolt right into place if you're in search of an easy option to a replacement and to 2 inches of additional height on the front of your Silverado. Now, while being an easy replacement, they're also a great upgrade to your current set, fitting well into an on and even off-road driving style, offering some better responsiveness to help with control without taking away from ride quality, and they offer some additional clearance for a better look and some more room to work with up front. These struts add 2 inches to the front of the truck with their design, improving the truck's ground clearance, creating some more space under the truck and inside the wheel well for a larger tire, up to 33 inches to be exact, and they make for a level stance of the truck, which also makes for a more dominant look compared to the factory rake. Now, that additional height is also paired with the velocity sensitive or variable dampening within the strut to offer a responsive ride, being a little stiffer than the factory to offer some more control and to improve the handling, which is great whether you are on the street or on a bumpy dirt road. Now, additionally, they have a gas charged build to complement the valving and also allow these to maintain their performance while being worked really hard in tougher situations, eliminating oil aeration for a consistent feel and a long lifespan. Now, these struts mainly have a steel build from the body to the springs or the coils here and the internals, which makes for a durable construction and one that will hold up well even in tough and abusive conditions. Now, the shock bodies are also covered in a rough country silver powder coat and the coils in a black coating to avoid any rusting over time. Now, the struts themselves also come with a large 1 3/8 inch bore and low friction oil, which helps when it comes to the dampening performance, and the rod is hardened chrome to avoid any nicks or damage that could compromise the construction. This also has tough seals and bushings to prevent any leaking and keep a comfortable and quiet ride when they're bolted up, and as you can see, they also come fully assembled, so they're a direct bolt-on swap with no questions asked. These are about $400, which isn't bad when you're looking at a leveling kit solution. A lot of other choices for lift solutions in this height range consist of spacers for the top of your factory strut, which may not be your preference if you are looking for a change and upgrade in your ride quality and to get rid of those older components while also getting some added height. Now, with that being said, this also comes with just the struts if you do want to keep it simpler than other kits that come with more components, whether you want to take your time building your truck or you want to customize your setup to your personal preference. Regardless of your reasoning, if you do want a set of struts that will help with your handling, bump up the nose of your truck, and not break the bank, then this is a solid option for you. Install is a 2 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter. I would recommend some mechanical experience in order to tackle this job, and with the right setup and tools, it should take about 2 hours or so, about an hour per side, to get these on and buttoned up. Now, because you are changing the height, I also would recommend an alignment after installation for proper performance and wear. But at this point, I'm going to hand it over to one of our installers. They're going to show you a detailed breakdown on how you can bolt these up to your truck at home. So that wraps it up for what I have to say. Let's go ahead and get into the install.
Tools required for this install include a couple different size impact guns, a ratchet, hammer, 13, 15, and 18 millimeter wrenches, 14, 15, and 18 millimeter ratcheting wrenches, an extension, 4 millimeter Allen socket or wrench, T40 torque socket, 9, 10, 14, 15, 18, and 21 millimeter sockets, a pry bar, and a floor jack or pole jack. What's up, guys? Today we're installing a lift kit on our Silverado. First, we're gonna watch a quick uninstall video showing you how to remove your front struts, and I'll meet you back here for the install.
All right, first step here, once you get your wheels out of the way and your vehicle supported up in the air, we're gonna start removing our ABS line bracket. There's one here on the knuckle and one on the upper control arm. Grab a 10 millimeter socket and get those off. Now what I like to do is once you pop that off, I like to just put the bolt back on just so we don't lose it. Just a couple of threads, and then do the one at the top. Next up, we're going to remove our sway bar end link. Now this is a pretty difficult one. You want to have a couple of specialty tools here. Not necessarily specialty tools, but specific tools. What you want to use is an 18mm wrench. Put that on the nut here on the back first. Then you're going to grab a 1/4" ratchet and a 9mm deep socket and hold that stud on the back end. And you're going to ratchet this guy off like this instead of ratcheting the nut, just because it's a really tight space. So using the 9mm on the stud itself, you can start to loosen it all the way up and remove it. All right, once you have that nut backed all the way off, pull the end link out of the sway bar, and then I'm just going to put the nut back on the stud. Next, we're going to tackle the upper control arm to the knuckle here by removing the 18mm nut. I'm going to use an 18 ratcheting wrench for this. Now, if it gets to the point where the entire stud is spinning, you can put this guy in there, follow it up with the appropriate size Allen key, and hold that stud steady. All right, making life easier here because this is starting to get stuck, we're going to switch over to a T40 Torx socket, and using my ratchet, we're going to hold that stud steady and ratchet this guy the rest of the way off. There you go. And what I like to do is just take the nut, put it right back on the stud. Next up, switch over to a 21 deep socket and get the tie rod end off. All right, we may need to grab a hammer to knock this guy loose. Once you have that knocked loose, let's pull that guy out. And just like the other ones, I'm gonna put this nut back on. Next up, switch over to a 15 deep socket. We're gonna get the 2 bolts holding the bottom of the strut to the lower control arm off. All right, next up, grab a 14mm ratcheting wrench. We're gonna remove the top 3 nuts holding on the strut here. That's gonna be the last step before the strut comes out. There are 2 right here in the front you can easily see, and 1 deeper in the back, which is difficult to see, but you're just gonna hit these 2 and then repeat for the 1 in the back. Once you break it loose, you can usually get it off by hand. Okay, repeat that for the 1 in the back. All right, from there, pull this guy down and set it aside.
So now we're going to take our new strut, slide it up into our upper mount, and thread on our 3 nuts. So now we're going to take our new lower strut hardware included in the kit. We're going to drop the bolt down through the strut, through the lower control arm, and then lift up and thread our nut on. Do the same thing on the other side. Then we're going to take a 15mm socket and a 14mm wrench and tighten those down. Now we'll go up top and tighten down our upper strut nuts with a 15mm ratcheting wrench. Now once you have one tight, you can spin the other 2 down. I like to do the front 2 first so that I can spin my back one all the way down by hand. Since that one's harder to get to, we don't have to turn it as many times. Now again, I'll go back, tighten that one all the way down by hand, and then get my wrench back there. So now we're gonna reconnect our knuckle to our upper control arm. So I've got a pry bar on one of the coil springs. I'm just gonna walk this down, get some threads through and thread my nut on. Then grab your 18mm socket and tighten that down. Now we're gonna reconnect our tie rod end. Thread that nut back on and tighten it down with a 21mm socket. Next, we're gonna start reconnecting our brake and ABS brackets. So I'm gonna start with the one on the front side of the knuckle. Thread your bolt back in, make sure that locating tab's in the hole, and tighten it down with a 10mm socket. Now I'm gonna pry down on my sway bar, get my end link back in the hole, and thread on my nut. Now you wanna make sure that you're caught up on the other side while you do this, because you wanna get that end link in on both sides at the same time. Once you have one side tightened down, you're not gonna be able to lift up on the sway bar to get your end link into that hole. Then grab an 18mm socket and tighten it down. Now we're gonna reinstall the rest of our ABS and brake line brackets. So I'm just gonna pull those bolts out of the knuckles. Make sure that that locating pin goes into the hole. Get the one on the upper control arm. And then the one on the back of the knuckle. And grab your 10mm socket and tighten them down. Once again, make sure that those locating tabs are in the holes. And then repeat that process on the other side. So that'll wrap up this review and install of the Rough Country Suspension 2-inch Strut Leveling Kit for your 2019 and newer Silverado 1500, excluding Trail Boss and ZR2. Thank you for watching. For all things Silverado, keep it right here at AmericanTrucks.com.